Good morning, good morning. So this is a continuation of lesson day 131, quadratic equations, more quadratic equations. Last class, we started this, we got about halfway through. So we were talking about transformations and looking at vertex form and what the different letters or values do. So A changes the direction. It's either facing up if it's positive or down if it's negative. H shifts the parabola left or right. If it's positive, then it's going to the left, and if it's negative, it's going to the right. A little bit counterintuitive. It's the opposite of what you would think. And then K shifts the parabola up or down. If K is positive, it goes up. If K is negative, it goes down. If you wrote these down yesterday, awesome. If you did not, go ahead and pause the video and write this stuff down. Here is another example of basically the same information without A, but you have positive H goes to the left, negative H goes to the right, positive K goes up, and negative K goes down. So we're going to start on slide 32 today. I'm going to do a couple examples and then you guys can finish and then attempt your homework. Okay? So I have put the same graph over here, and I also put our vertex form with a little bit of reminders right here. So we are figuring out what the equation of this parabola is. And remember, the parent function is what we're kind of basing off of, y equals x squared. And then we add a, h, and k depending on what happened to our parabola, where it moved or shifted, where it transformed, as it were. So we are going to see what happened to it. So we're always going to have y equals a. Is it opening up or down? Well, it's definitely opening up, so it's going to be positive a, or positive 1. Then we have our parentheses. We always need that x. H means it moved left or right from the parent function from 0, 0. It did not move left or right, so h would just be 0, so minus 0 squared. And then k is moving up or down. It did move down 1, 2, 3, 4, so it would be negative 4. And then we can simplify it. Y equals, we don't need that positive 1 because it doesn't actually affect anything. We don't need this 0 either, which means we don't actually need the parentheses. So we just have x squared minus 4. And this is the equation for our parabola. It was translated down 4, minus 4, that's all it means. So now that we have this equation, which form is it in? Pause the video and see if you can drag the icon. So we talked about it last class. The big visual difference between standard form and vertex form is this squared. In standard form, only the x is being squared. In vertex form, you have this h inside the parentheses that's also being squared. So if you have parentheses where multiple things are being squared, that will typically be in vertex form. If just the x is being squared like it is here, this is standard form. But now what if I want to write it in vertex form? We actually already know how to do it. The big difference between standard form is vertex and vertex form is the vertex. So we need to take this equation, figure out what the vertex is, and put it back in. And the simplest way to find the vertex is by first solving for x, negative b divided by 2a, and then plugging that x back into the original quadratic equation to find y. So we're going to take our equation, which is y equals y equals x squared minus 4, and attempt that. Okay? So when we're looking at this, I'm actually going to leave it up a little bit. We need to know what, so we solve for x by negative b divided by 2a. So we need to know what b is and what a is. So in this equation, A equals this front number. Up here, before we simplified it, it's a positive 1. B is the middle number of standard form with that second just x. Because it's not there, we know that B is 0. And then for good measure, C is -4. It's that last term. So now we can use this to solve for x. So x equals -0 divided by 2 times 1. 0 divided by anything is just 0. Now we can take that and solve for y with our original equation. And we just take 0 and plug it in for x. So y equals 0 squared minus 4. 0 minus 4 is -4. So our vertex is at 0, -4. Now we take that vertex and, oops, I went one too far. And we have to plug it in to our vertex form. So vertex form is y equals a parentheses x minus h squared plus k, where this value is h and the y coordinate is k. A, as we said before, is just positive 1. It's up here somewhere. Yep, positive 1 right there. So y equals positive 1. X stays. H is 0 squared, and k is -4. So this is vertex form. All right, so we're going to try another one. If you want to pause the video and see if you can figure this one out real quick, that'd be a good idea. Okay, so I copied the graph over here again. And then as a reminder, we're using vertex form to figure out the transformations. So ax minus h squared plus k. A is the way that it faces or opens. H is left or right. And k is moving up or down from our original parent function at 0, 0. So A, it is facing up, so it'd be positive 1. We always need that x. H is moving left or right. It did move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the right, so it'd be -6. H is moving up or down. It did not, so it's just plus 0. Did not move. Then we can simplify it. We don't actually need that positive 1. We do need our parentheses still. And we don't need the 0 either. So this would be our equation for this parabola. Y equals parentheses x minus 6 squared. Okay, now pause the video and see if you can figure out, is this vertex or standard form? Drag the icon. So if you recall, I just told you the big difference is this square. If x is the only thing being squared, it's standard form. If there's more than one thing being squared, aka parentheses, then it is vertex form. And as we can see, x minus 6, both those things are being squared, so this is vertex form. But what if we want to take vertex form and put it back to standard form? We already know how to do that too. It's called the box method. So the box method is where we have two different expressions and we put them in the columns and the rows. So if I come back here, it kind of looks like I only have one expression though, x minus 6. However, x minus 6 is squared. So this is the same thing as x minus 6 times x minus 6. So now that we have two expressions, we can put them on the columns and the rows of our box. So this would be x minus 6 up here and x minus 6 down here. And then we multiply our columns and rows. So x times x goes in here, so x squared. Negative 6 times x is negative 6x. X times negative 6, again, is negative 6x. And negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36. Now that we have our box filled out, we are always going to combine these two because they are like terms. So we would have y equals x squared. Negative 6x minus 6x is negative 12x. And then plus 36. Dun, dun, dun. That is now standard form going from highest to lowest. Just right there. So the vertex form of this equation would be this equation. Or sorry, the standard form of the vertex equation, vertex form would be this. Okay, so there are two more examples on your Pear Deck. Go ahead and try and complete those. To check your work, there are answers in the Pear Deck, obviously. And then at the very end, this is your homework. Now, I did want to show you guys a little trick. Because the EOC is coming up, I want you to start being a little bit more comfortable with your calculator. So we're going to go back up to this equation because it gave us standard form and your homework is writing in vertex form. So what I want you to do is open your TI-84 calculator on your computer real quick. When you're in the EOC, anytime you see y equals, that's going to be a great time to go to your y equals button, and it will maybe be able to help you find some stuff. So in the top left-hand corner of your calculator, there's a y equals button. This is where you can put equations. So I'm going to put this equation that we figured out. X, there's a squared button right here. If it's anything other than squared, you can use... You can use this little caret right here and put the number there. Make sure you exit out of the exponent though. So you can see it's still a little box. So x squared, and then it was minus 4. So this is our equation. So anytime you're just given the equation, when you put it in y equals, you can go to the graph and it will actually graph it for you. So this can help answer a lot of questions. If you need just the vertex, if you need the x-intercepts, y-intercepts, the a value, all of this can be seen right here. Now, for changing from standard form to vertex form, we do need our vertex. And you can do everything I just told you, but a little hint, for those of you still watching this video, if you come to this trace button, you can move around. Sometimes it'll give you those whole numbers as you saw it, and it started on the vertex, which is awesome. But if it's not quite there, you can go second, trace, and it will give you these different options. You can find an intersect if there are two lines. But for me, I'm looking for the vertex, and in this case, it would be the minimum because it's the bottom. So I can go to 3, and then it asks you left bound. So you go to the left of it, click enter, and then right bound, click enter. And then yes, we want it to guess. The minimum, this is basically 0. It's as close as you can get with 0, and negative 4. So it's not going to be exact, but it'll get you pretty darn close. And most of the time it'll be whole numbers. So negative 7 means it goes back 7 spaces. So it'd be 0.000008, which is basically 0. So in that case, your vertex is 0, 4. like all of this work we just did, and then you can plug the vertex in. So I'll show you what I mean on your homework as well. So if you go to IXL, it's BB period is your homework. It is starred for you, but if you're just searching for it, you can go to BB. It's right after 12. It doesn't actually have a number. It's like 12 and a half. So if you come here, they want us to write the function, the equation in vertex form, which is this entire IXL, and you need to get to 50. So if you use my little hint, if you're still watching this video, you can go to y equals and put that equation in. Split the screen. Okay, so need to clear this stuff. Y equals, this is x squared minus 2x plus 5. Then we go to our graph. If you want to trace, it might show up the vertex. You can kind of go like, okay, it's starting to go back up, so it's kind of right here, and it's really, really close to 1, 4. You could also second trace it and go for a minimum because it opens up again. So, yep, that's to the left. And that should be to the right, and then I want it to guess. So the minimum is at basically 1, 4. So that is our vertex. And so the vertex form for this, get some blank page. So I started with y equals, what was it? X squared minus 2x plus 5. And I want to get into vertex form. So a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. And my vertex, if I look at my calculator, was 1, 4. So this is h and this is k. So I now have y equals, my a value is 1, so I don't actually need to put that, but I'll put it there for now. X minus h, which is 1, squared plus 4. And then to simplify it, y equals, I don't need that 1 like I said. So it would be y equals parentheses x minus 1 squared plus 4. Ta-da. And then just make sure that you're getting to a 50. Yep. You also have your W8, which is your strategic learning assignment. If you need any help, please feel free to email your teacher.